Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Ryan Groene. Thanks for being on the show, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Whitney. I appreciate it.
Ryan is a full-time mobile home park owner-operator that focuses on value-add and turnaround communities in the Midwest and Southeast. His current portfolio has grown to 7 parks totaling 300 lots. Ryan also serves as the director of operations for Buckeye Communities, where he oversees the operations of over 400 lots spread across 5 parks in Ohio and Michigan. Ryan, welcome to the show. Congratulations first just on your growth and success in the mobile home park business. And I want to hear a little about your story from corporate America to this commercial real estate space and business and mobile home parks. And let's dive into mobile home parks specifically and just how you've grown that business and brand.
Yeah, well, I appreciate first, having me on the show, and longtime listener. Happy to add value where I can. It's been a long road. It's not been, all, hey, I'm here, I'm a full-time mobile home park investor. It's been, as you probably know, that path is not as clear cut and not as clear as what everybody portrays in books and podcasts and conferences and all this other stuff, right? Hey, go buy a house and house hack it and live free, right? Everybody loves bigger pockets, but sometimes it's good, but it's sometimes maybe too much or other stuff. So basically, my long story short, went to school, got a finance degree, played baseball in college, wasn't really a good student, was more focused on athletics and, maybe a little bit of partying here and there, kind of like everybody, right? Got out of college, went to a relatively good school, got a finance job right out of school. And I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college, and I had that kind of like in the back of my brain, like, what am I going to do? Is this forever? The goal was basically to work, earn a high salary with my finance job, and then put that money in like a side business or buy some real estate, buy a duplex, start small and kind of scale up. That didn't start happening, right? Because, next to nothing, you make, I think I made 38 grand my first job or something like that right out of college. And then obviously we had bonuses and it was stepped up pretty quickly. But I actually, after 4 years of, working the same job, not being promoted, kind of having new bosses and working for a Fortune 500 company, I realized this is not going to work for me. So I actually got asked to leave my first job. Most people, they quit their job. I got asked to leave because they had found out that I was moving cities, and it just was not good timing at all. It was not for me. I'm not a get there at 8 o'clock, stay till 5 type of person. While I don't mind working, I was not like, we had to be there at a certain time, and that's just not my personality. Typically, I'm always 5 minutes late. I'm rarely early. It's just a flaw that I have. So I always try to get there somewhat early. But anyways, long story short, got asked to leave. That was in Cincinnati, moved to Cleveland, got another job. Got asked to leave that one because it was like a small company. We had lost some customers, and it was more of like a layoff situation. And then I just happened to know a couple guys that were buying parks together. We had looked at buying a couple parks together, really never connected. And then that's where I joined Buckeye Communities kind of as their operations director. Got me into the industry. It allowed me to oversee operations on the large scale, on how to run multiple parks, different ways, and how to scale something, and also how to be a part of a team that was didn't really have a corporate culture, right? It wasn't, get here at 8, leave at 5. You can't have any facial hair. You got to wear a suit every day. Really dry culture. It was more hands-on, and then at the same time, I was buying my own parks. So that was 3 years ago. So I've been full-time for about 3 years now. It's as the operations director, it was a part-time gig. It wasn't full-time. It's still not full-time. So it wasn't full-time pay. So, when you're buying real estate, it might cash flow, but when you're buying turnaround real estate, it does not cash flow. So I was like walking dogs. I was doing everything. I was like selling stuff from my closet. I was selling stuff that maybe I had too much excess of. I was living very frugally. Luckily, I was living at home for the first part of my career. And then I also haven't had kids. So it's allowed me to do a little bit more and live a little bit more frugally than some others, right? So my financial freedom number is a little bit lower than others. And here, that's basically, my story in a nutshell. I mean, it's been a long road. I had to do some soul searching along the way. What really sped it up, I just turned 30 this year, and was kind of just my, I remember just days where I would go into the office and I'd be like, just literally like drained. I felt soulless. I mean, every expression and every cliche out there, that was happening to me. So that allowed me to kind of, I guess, push to get out quicker. So, and that's kind of how I stumbled upon mobile home parks.
Interesting. Well, it's just neat how, sometimes that, you even getting asked to leave or fired from a position or a couple, that can seem like a bad day to most people, but a lot of times that's when it really pushes us to go search for something else, right? And motivates us, or we have to go find something else, and you became the director of operations at Buckeye Communities, and what that opened your eyes to mobile home parks, right?
So how I stumbled upon mobile home parks. So back in 2014, 2015, when I got out of college, I had already known I was going to buy business. I looked at laundromats, car washes, duplexes, single families, small apartments, everything under the sun, right? And then my dad was like, hey, you got a little bit of cash. My dad's a contractor. He's like, I'll help you flip a mobile home. Let's go check some out. Let's go maybe like a live-in flip or something in a nicer retirement community. Wasn't age restricted. Looked at doing that. It was about 20 grand. Didn't end up doing it for whatever reason. Looked at a couple others, didn't do it. And then we just started chatting, hey, kind of who owns these things? That's kind of how my brain kind of works sometimes, is just being in that mindset, right? Looking for something. And I kind of found it, right? My eyes were peeled back. I started doing all kinds of research, went to a boot camp, read everything under the sun, met everybody. Still to this day, I still try to do the same. And that kind of what peeled back the layer for me. So I've never owned any other asset class, anything. I've only bought, mobile home parks. And with mobile home parks comes other real estate. Like I've owned single families, apartments, garages, storage units, vacant land. With mobile home parks, it's a weird asset class, but that's kind of what allowed me to open my eyes. And then the financial numbers of it, the supply and demand of the overall economics of parks, and just the less management intensive with, when your parks are all tenant owned homes. Really spoke to me, and it just jived with my personality. So that what started, and then I joined Buckeye, and that is what opened my eyes on how to really run a park, because when you just buy one asset, you can get away with being lazy, you can get away with doing certain things. But when you have 5, 6, 10 parks, and you got employees, and you got different tenants, and you're moving in homes, you're doing this, doing that, and you are the property management company as well. There's a lot of moving parts. So, I mean, it's all hands on deck, and obviously we do control our time and some of our money, but with that, you still have to work to get your investment right. So
speak about getting your first mobile home park.
Yeah, kind of. So it took me years and years. I had a couple under contract from the time I was 27 to the time I was 25 to the time I was 28. I looked at parks. I called parks. I mailed parks. If you tell me a park in the Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky area, I know it and I know the owner because I built my own database. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was building my own database, learning everything I could. I just by chance happened to connect with somebody. They posted on like a Facebook group, I think, hey, we're assigning this park, 75 units down in Fayetteville. And I ended up just kind of partnering with some people that I had known a little bit. We all had some money. We all had a little bit of experience. I actually ended up partnering with some people that has done apartment syndications. And we still owned that to this day. It was a value add and a huge turnaround. It had contaminated well water, which I don't recommend buying on your first property. We ended up connecting to city water, but it had huge infill, and we got seller financing. So it was a good deal, and it's worth a lot more than what we paid for it today. But it's been a good amount of capital sunk in, a good amount of effort as well. So that's my first purchase. Kind of happened by chance. It was 6 months of due diligence, 6 months of contract negotiations, because it just felt like an onion, right? We just kept peeling back the layers, and there was always something. And eventually we got comfortable enough, and we realized like, hey, we're getting good seller financing terms. Let's push forward on this property. If it doesn't work, it's non-recourse. And, I guess we're just going to lose our down payment, which for me was at the time, everything I had. I cashed in my 401k, took the hit, and then put that, 30 grand or whatever it was into the deal. And I had zero money in my bank account. I remember I probably had 5 grand. And as a real estate investor, you live off your cash flow potentially, but you also live off of refinances and liquidity events because you don't necessarily have a stable W-2 when you're doing turnarounds. And that's, so what kind of came out of desperation allowed me a quicker path because I had to get there, right? I couldn't just sit around because I didn't have a job anymore. And I literally cashed in my life savings. And it's worth more today, but that park, I always have a little bit more, I guess I want to be a little bit more hands-on. I'm a little bit more sensitive, right? When somebody hasn't paid, because it was my first deal and it was my life savings at the time. So that's probably why it's a little bit more intimate to me, but
it's just interesting too to hear the risk that you took, cashing in your 401k, you're willing to pay those, what the penalty as well to make this happen, and so you could have that crash and even take your personal liquidity down that far just to get into the business and make that deal happen. It sounds like you found some good terms and you did great due diligence or over a long period of time. But what about the transition then from, okay, you did the hard work to get this first deal done. How long till the second one, and how did your systems improve, and how did the process improve going to the second or third?
Yeah, so it's a snowball thing, just like everybody always says, right? Once you do the first one, it kind of just is downhill from there. My second one, we closed. I actually had another park under contract at the same time. We closed that December of 2018, and closed the next one April 1st, 2019, and then the next one August 1st, 2019, and then I sold 2 of those. I sold my partnership rights out of those 2. And then since then, we bought 4 in the last year. We've had many more under contract. And we always try to buy with what we have under contract, but sometimes, things pop up. Today, right now, December of 2020, we have 3 parks under contract, and we're hopefully closing all of those. And that'll give me about 400 or 500 spaces, depending on what we close by the end of Q1 2021. So the transition and when you get full time, you have 40 more hours that people that are working jobs don't have, right? So you don't realize the window of opportunity that you have when you open up more time when you're full time. And if full time means you take a low paying job and you get a little bit more hours to then go buy more deals, or you cash in your life savings. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying you have to understand your risk and understand your reward. If you got a family and you got bills to pay, look, you got to work a job. I get it, but maybe you don't need this and you can save 10% more. So the transition for me was more of a forced hand than me just saying, hey, all right, well, I'm quitting and I'm buying parks. So it was more like, hey, here's the door. While I'm also buying parks, because I was not shy. I told people, I'm looking to buy real estate. I'm looking to do this, do that, which some people in the corporate world are like, hey, that's awesome, because they understand. And then some people are like, oh, no, you don't do that. You need to be here. We need your attention, and that's not going to work. So my transition was a little bit, was hard and easy at the same time. Because I'd already known in my head years that this is what I wanted to do. So I was already there, and every day is still a battle for me. I mean, I still, there's some days I don't want to work or don't want to do anything, and maybe I don't have to, but I still have to push, and I still want to push and grow and do all that stuff. So, because I still know I'm not where I want to be. So
what's been the hardest part for you for growing just the mobile home park business and brand for yourself?
Yeah, the hardest part is finding the right people to partner with, finding the correct deals, because there's a lot of deals out there right now at crazy prices, some of them, and finding the money for me has never really been necessarily an issue. I mean, I always talked about it and been connected with people and try to talk that avenue as well. But the hardest part is finding the right partners to do deals with and somebody I want to grow with.
How have you done that? How have you changed that for yourself to find or found partners?
Yeah. So I had a partnership group that we were building parks with, and we actually had a separation. They bought me out. I sold my partnership rights. So one thing I focused on a little bit more is, what can you bring to the table? What are our personalities? And because for me, I know the identifiers that I don't want in somebody. I don't want somebody texting me every day saying, hey, I saw an email come in. You're running operations. Why didn't you answer it? Hey, where's this? Where's that? Like, I don't need another boss. We are partners in this business. While it's okay to say, hey, when are you going to do this every now and then? Or it's more of a, hey, I trust you to do it. And then, just let me know when it's done. Like, you're going to see it. So I didn't need a big brother staring over my shoulder. And that's what I had in my first partnership. And it's not my personality, and it didn't work. The people I've partnered with now kind of trust, hey, you know what you're doing. We're here to help. We want to help, but you're kind of running the day-to-day show. And then we're here if you need us. So
what's been the effects of the pandemic, or just over the last year almost now, on mobile home parks and maybe your portfolio?
Yeah. So overall in the industry, deals have actually sped up. There's more cash flowing into the asset class because the tenants are sticky. They're typically lower income, and meaning they might be on subsidized from the government, right? Social Security, disability, something like that. They work at Walmart. Their jobs were essential, right? They would work at fast food places. They were essential workers. So really overall, we've had some tenants that couldn't pay because they lost their jobs or whatever, but the unemployment helped. The first couple months, we weren't panicking, but we were like, hey, what's going to happen? April collections rolled in. We were like, oh, okay, it wasn't really that bad. May rolled in, wasn't really that bad. We've been on the phone more. We've been more out in front talking with residents probably than what we would have been. I personally will take phone calls and process payments over the phone if I need to. So we've been creative, right? We've been a little bit more open to ways to pay and taking payment plans and stuff like that. But look, we're in affordable housing. If people need to replace their tires, they may not pay you because they literally live paycheck to paycheck. And we really, we provide clean, safe, affordable housing that's non-subsidized. And overall, really haven't seen a huge dividend in our business. We've actually bought more deals probably than we did in years past because there's a lot of older owners that are like, hey, this COVID thing, it scares the hell out of me. So I'm 75 and I'm probably higher risk of catching it. And I don't want to be interacting with tenants who are coughing and doing this and doing that. Hey, I'm ready to sell. I cash it in. I've seen that happen a lot. Sped that window up of the people that are 65 to 85 that own these parks. And we all thought we had this 10-year window. It's just basically created a vacuum. And with low interest rates and people cash flowing in, I feel like I see every day, hey, Blackstone bought this portfolio. So-and-so bought this, so-and-so bought that. And it's, you got the guys over at Bigger Pockets, Buckeye. We actually, we sold them their first park up in Fostoria, and they're creating. Everybody wants a mobile home park nowadays. It's probably the hottest asset class outside of actually catching COVID right now in 2020. But yeah, it's business has not slowed down, which is kind of surprising, but.
Can you also speak to self-managing these parks versus hiring that out? Just in a stage of, say, getting your first park, growing to 3 or 4 parks and continuing growth, is that something you recommend initially, and is it something you see doing long term?
So this space does not, at this point in time, have, to my not knowledge, but to my what I expect, good third-party property managers. So you have to keep it all in-house or partner with operators that know how to run parks. Now we have on-site managers, right, that either live there or live close by. So it's kind of self-managing, but I have kind of a spring, right, because I have on-site managers, on-site maintenance. So we hire all that out, we manage them. So as far as recommending that to somebody, yes. For parks specifically, unless you buy a 5-star or retirement type community, and lot rents are $700-800, I would recommend you doing the self-managing and maybe hire an on-site manager, because that's going to help out a lot. You're going to understand the problems that you're going to have. And then as far as scaling goes, right, you hire employees to manage the managers, and you basically create your own in-house property management company. And the good thing about mobile home parks, if you don't own a lot of the homes, it's not super management intensive. The most management time is the 6th through the 10th. That's when rent's due, right? Because we're knocking on doors, posting notices. And when you're buying a turnaround, it's management intensive anyways. And management intensive is not, me getting there and swinging a hammer. We pay people to do that. So we're still scaling effectively by employing others and creating jobs and allowing us to buy multiple opportunities because we're employing people at those locations with boots on the ground. And then we're overseeing that. So to scale that, to 1,000, 1,200, 15 units, I can't speak to that. I can only speak to what I've done and kind of what others have done.
Sure.
But I would recommend keeping it in-house because at this point in time, the third-party management is not super effective, in my opinion, for the parks that we're buying.
What do you predict, say, to happen and you can speak to directly mobile home park industry, but what do you predict or expect over the next 6 to 12 months in your plan for your business?
Over the next 6 to 12 months, I plan on doubling in size just based on the deal flow that I've been seeing and the cash that's kind of chasing it right now. I plan on hopefully hiring an employee to kind of replace myself because running operations, while it's fun and exciting, I can only do so much, right? My time is limited. So I plan on hopefully hiring somebody by mid 2020 or hiring like an assistant. While I have partners, they have other things, they have other jobs. Hiring somebody that I can kind of say, hey, go do this, go do that. That's kind of what I need. And as far as overall like parks and just the economy, I really don't have an answer for the economy. I don't think anybody knows. I was trying to get as much hands-on cash early COVID as I can, and I still am trying to remain liquid, which it seems that it's hard to do. Just because deals are kind of flowing in. And mobile home parks, I think they're going to continue to there's going to be a buying spree. People are paying 6-7 caps when 2 years ago people were like, hey, I buy mobile home parks, they're 10 caps, they're great, they're passive, and which maybe they were a little bit back then and there still are, but we're in the world of the same large apartments. We're 6 caps where you can get 3% debt and there's big guys chasing it, 50 units and more. But really what that leaves is there's still a lot of opportunity left. There's still a lot of deals. There's still a lot of places to find your niche within the mobile home park space. Even if you want to buy 1, buy 2, there's plenty of good guys running funds if you're looking to be passive. There's plenty of guys doing syndications where you can, hey, I got some cash, I want to be, an LP on this deal. There's plenty of that. It's good and bad for the space. There's a lot of professional operators, a lot of professional financing people coming into the space, and we're becoming a little bit more, not the ugly guy or the redheaded stepchild, right? Sorry if anybody's redheaded and a stepchild, but we're not that anymore. I mean, we still are somewhat, but we're becoming a little bit more mainstream, and which is good and bad. So that's my prediction. I think it's going to become more mainstream. More parks are going to close. None are going to be developed. More parks are going to transact, and you're going to see, probably more deal flow in the park space than any other asset. And I would bet $100 in a year from now, they're lower default rates than any other asset class aside from self-storage. So.
What about, Ryan, do you have a couple of daily habits that you're disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Yeah, I check who's paid every day. That allows me to gauge where my business is. But aside from that, jokingly, I really just try to think about, where am I going? What am I doing today? What can I do to be most effective? To say that I wake up at 5 a.m. and work out and do all that stuff that everybody talks about. No, that's not me. I slept till probably 8 o'clock this morning, but I went to bed at midnight, right? So I get 7-8 hours of sleep. I try to get some form of exercise, whether it's just walking. Like my goal now is to do like somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 steps. That's my goal. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I am not a walker, so it is a lot. And just some other things are looking at a deal a day, right? Talking to somebody, reading a book, whether it's through audio or listening to a podcast, something daily to where I'm not diminishing my skills. I'm trying to get better. Not every day is going to be a step forward, but it's better to remain where you are, or maybe take a lateral step than to take 10 steps back by not reading, not doing some form of exercise, and not looking at a deal. That's kind of what I try to do daily. To try to better myself and kind of better my business.
What's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Actually, surprisingly, because it's all kind of virtual, Facebook, like there's a bunch of groups, right? Or you can join a bunch of investor groups. I know there's some for apartments and self-storage, but there's a bunch of like mobile home park groups. I think one of your guests, Ryan Groene, actually, he hosts a group. It's like MHP Mastermind or something. It's a good group. I just try to interact on there. And then I'm doing podcasts like this, right? So people reach out to me, and I'm also reaching out to people. Hey, I haven't talked to you in a while, catching up, stuff like that. So typically I do calls in the afternoon, 1 or 2 calls, and I give a lot of free time, right? I don't do coaching or anything. I try to give as much as possible. So therefore one day maybe it'll come back in return. So
what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Looking at a deal a day, or trying to get involved as quickly as possible. Because if you're not looking at deals, you're not going to be able to buy a deal, because you don't know what is happening in the market. And also just talking with people and not being afraid to take somebody out for, during normal times, a cup of coffee or pay for lunch, because the $20 or $40 it costs for lunch, or $5 it costs for coffee, if it's an experienced investor or somebody you kind of want to be like, it's well worth it. And that's contributed a lot. And also just kind of being stubborn, and knowing what I want to do, right? Because there's a lot of people that said, hey, you haven't bought a mobile home park. Have you thinking about something else? Just staying focused on one sole asset class has been beneficial to me, because I will chase a lot of stuff. Like right now, like last year, I found myself, like, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. I was like looking at buying like a brewery, or looking at buying like some other business. And I'm still looking at that stuff, but like mobile home parks is my sole focus. And I would say focusing on one thing at a time has been helpful for me.
Definitely wisdom in that, not getting shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you like to give back?
Really my time, right? I like to help others. I like to help people that are looking to get into space. I like talking about it. And I like telling people, hey, this is not a 10 cap business where you can just buy a park, raise the rent, and sit back in your lazy boy and collect the rent every month. It's not a passive business like most people pitch. While it's more passive than maybe apartments, I try to be as honest as possible and transparent about operations, about systems, about, how to do this, how to do that. What do I think about a deal, right? People ask me. I just try to give the positive and negatives, and I try to provide as much value without like really asking anything in return. And then I also, from time to time, I used to be involved with a no-kill animal shelter. So I like to, help with kind of homeless dogs and cats and stuff like that. So.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I'm grateful to have met you and had you on the show. It's just always interesting to hear people's path to success in real estate, especially when they're coming from a corporate world, or, ways that most people would see that as success, and having that W-2 position, but then having to leave that and move to where you're at now, and just the success you've had. And it's going to be interesting to see where you go over the next few years also, but grateful for just sharing that path with us today, and just ways you've grown your mobile home park business and how others can do it also. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
I'm on every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can also email me. I'm sure they'll put my email in the show notes. It's Ryan and my last name, Groene55@gmail.com. That's my personal email. You can also go to, not really a running website, but it's still some information. It's called themobilehomeparkinvestor.com. And then anytime, I'm at different meetups. I'm down here in Charleston. So if anybody's ever in Charleston, South Carolina, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to get a cup of coffee or stand 6 feet apart, or whatever crazy and wild times lay ahead.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.